Hello, my name is Soufiane Hennani. I'm from Morocco. I'm a podcaster and activist for LGBTQI community in Morocco, and I produce a podcast on masculinities and how to promote positive masculinities in Morocco. The name of my podcast is Machi Rojola, not so manly. So the idea of the podcast is to promote positive masculinities and fighting against toxic masculinities in Moroccan society. For me, the idea of the podcast, it was to how, as a man in society, can I be ally to feminism, to women, and to LGBTQI community, and to fight for all these rights in society. So the idea it was to create this podcast and talking about patriarchy, about masculine domination in society, to break the silence about that by podcasting. To be honest, for me, in the beginning, it was the idea. I was thinking about working on masculinities, and I was thinking about the tool to do that. I was asking myself if it will be artistic production or a book or a YouTube channel. But it was the quarantine, and I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and then I discovered the benefits of podcasting. Like, the podcast gives you a lot of time to discuss about a topic without all the pressure of the video. So you can, it's an intimate space to discuss about a subject, and even people are not even when I record with people for the podcast, people feel more free, less judged, and more intimate. So for me, it was the reason why I used podcast. Also another thing, because over the world, podcasting is a tool for talking about young issues or the topics related to young people, gender, ecology, racism. And for me, it was important to be a part of this podcasting movement, if I can say that, in the Moroccan society. For me, in the beginning, I wasn't very interested by being visible. For me, the podcast, it was I was thinking that this podcast will be just something on internet. People will not try to, know who is behind this podcast. And for me, it was a way to protect myself. In different ways, protect myself from haters, but also protecting myself from from media, from being visible, etc., etc. At least in my opinion, it's a very democratic tool to break silence about a lot of topics. Podcasting is something very simple to use. I mean, you can do it in the studio, of course, but you can do it with your smartphone. It's not something to only for privileged people. You can do it from your room, from your house, with your friends, and break the silence about very, very huge topics. And I think it's one of the most important things in podcasting. Also, podcasting, when you create a podcast, you can give an anonymous, for a lot of people. I mean, when you work on with the LGBTQI people in difficult context, as in Morocco, because in Morocco, homosexuality is criminalized by law. You can do interviews with people, changing the voices, and like protecting the people with who you work. Maybe one of the other benefits of the podcast, it's like you can you know uh, for at least for me, like I can listen to the podcast everywhere. So for me the most important thing is the idea. Like it's not about creating podcast and like finding idea if like something marketing, something that will work, but like searching the idea first, and then uh, trying to find the way to do the podcast. And like for me the other thing, it's like to do a lot of documentation about the subjects, because like podcast is like in general, at least now, when people go and they want to listen to a podcast, it's for the people choose to listen to the podcast. So when they choose to listen to this podcast, they want to know something more, they want to feel something more. So we have to do a lot of documentation, lots of creation and innovation also. I think for an organization, it's important to know why we are doing this podcast. What is this podcast? When we will create it, and where and with who, etc. It helps a lot. As I said in the beginning, it's not about just creating a podcast, but it's about using a podcast to do something. And I think it's very important to have answers to all questions, not only for the podcast, but also for the security of the organization, the reputation of the organization, uh, yeah, what we want to communicate with people by the podcast. I think it's very important to answer to all these questions. And the other thing, it's like a podcast, it's about a team, it's very important. I think it's an advice, and it's in my opinion, I prefer like very intimate podcast. For an organization, I think it's very useful to do it with people from the organizations, like not going to big studio and like asking them as something that will be treated by agency of communication or something like this, but to try as much as possible to create this podcast, with volunteers, with the people from the organization, because it will give this intimate thing to the podcast, and people, when they will listen to the podcast, they will feel that safety is very important. My safety is very important, but more important than my safety, it's the safety of my speakers, and especially concerned people. I think it's like very important when we create talk podcasts to protect our guests, ask them all the time, send them all the time. I do all the time this with my guests. It's like I send the episodes before sharing, and I give them like 48 hours to listen to the episodes and giving me feedbacks, and then I can share it, because it's like very important, especially when we are working on difficult topics like muscular domination, LGBTQI issues, and things like this. My first podcast, I did it with the very cheap smartphone, and like the sound quality wasn't very good, but I did it with a lot of love, and I did it with on It was on my bed under the cover, and because like under the cover, actually it's very good studio. It's like the same quality in the studio, and like it was one of the best episodes of my podcast. So I mean, when I say this story, I mean it's like there is always solutions, very cheap solutions for creating a good podcast. It's only about like innovation, and like when we don't have the material, there is always like another solution. I'm doing the podcast with that. It's like Zoom H8. H8. For me, it's very useful because it's like very simple. You can have it with you everywhere, and it's not very expensive. And there is different kind of microphones. I have this one and this one. I use this one for interview between two people, and this like for recording debate. It captures sound from everywhere. I do my editing after recording and all these things. I use the Reaper. There is a lot of tutorial on YouTube. It's open source, like it's for free, and yeah, and like it help you a lot for doing editing. The first thing is finding the subjects of the episode. For example, talking about masculinities and love, masculinities and religion, and we choose the subject. Masculinity related to something else, like with which perspective we will talk, and then we propose the subjects. Actually, we are three person working on the podcast now, and like we try to find the subjects, and then we discuss the subject. The references, like we search on Google. We try to read some books, like watching movies, listening to other podcasts who are like treating the same subjects, etc., on YouTube channels, etc., etc., and then trying to find the guests. It's very important, and just like by experience, it's always useful to choose like two or three guests, two or three speakers, because like sometimes you have a speaker who will tell you at the last time, like, I'm not available, or I'm not very excited about the idea. And like it's very important to have alternative solution, but it's like without like by we have to keep the guests have to be interesting and related to the subject, like not just inviting someone to talk about it. And then after the doing the interview, I listen to the interview again, and I and then I write the introduction, because in every episode there is an introduction. Yeah, like to talk about the subject, to present the guest, and the last thing, it's like there is in all episodes there is in the beginning and at the end, like there is some témoignage, like people who talk about their own experiences, like the speech of concerned people. It's very important, like to identifying the angle or the perspective of the subject. In the podcast Machi Rojola, we have two kinds of public. It's the people who wanna convince, like I don't wanna say toxic men, but people who are not they people who don't believe in LGBTQI rights, feminism, positive masculinities, etc. So we try to go to them by sponsoring, by sharing the episodes on different group, I don't know, group of uh, with a lot of Moroccans, etc. And the second public, it's like it's the people who like Machi Rojola, the podcast, so they listen to us, because they learn by the speakers, and because they believe that the message of Machi Rojola podcast is very important. So now there is different way to know if you arrive to the message arrived to your public or not. First thing, like on the platforms of podcasting, there is all the time, you have statistics like in Instagram. So with who who listen to the podcast, where you have a lot of details. It's for free, and if you pay like money, you can have specific statistics. So it helps you a lot, to work on to work on uh, on the content, and to evaluate your podcast. For example, in Morocco, when I start the podcast, it was in Darija, Moroccan dialect, and by statistics, I know that there is a lot of French speaker. They try to listen to the podcast, and when they use the podcast, when they listen, they know that it's not it's in Darija, so they stop in the 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So in this moment, we decide uh, to create some episodes in French, just like because French is one of the languages used in Morocco. So I tried to create some episodes in French and doing the transcription for the episodes in Darija. And then we had a lot of French speaker who listen to the podcast. So statistics help you a lot to to know. For example, for me, it's very important to that the podcast will have to be like men have to listen to the podcast. So one of the objectives, it's like to have many men, cis men, heterosexual cis men, have to listen to the podcast to learn, to know about our message, about our beliefs. So we are working all the time to to have more men who listen to the podcast. And I think statistics, it helps a lot. Other things, and the last things, it's using the comments on the social media. It's very important. I'm using that all the time. Like sometimes I write the comments, because it's help you a lot, like to the feedbacks, and like you can change some things. For example, sometimes people tell me like that the jingle, the introduction of the podcast, it's like very long, very big. So it's very small details, but it helps a lot to have more people who listen to the podcast. Listen to a lot of podcasts, because it's when you listen to another podcast, it stimulates your imagination. You learn a lot about like how others what others are doing. Just a last advice, it's like to be very it's not advice, it's a suggestion for all people who want to create a podcast. It's just like be crazy when you create your podcast. podcast. It's like taking, you can take a book, it's for free, like writing all what you want to do, like even if it's not, it will be, don't think about obstacles, about les obstacles, don't think about things that you can't do, just write and like be crazy, with a lot of innovation and creation. And then after, in the second step, like you can decide what you can do and what you can't do. But it's like just uh, do and create what you want to create. Because like for me in the beginning, I remember when I was thinking about Machi Rojola, lots of people like told me like, but you will be the only one who is talking about that, because people will not accept. We are in Morocco and people will not accept to talk about this subject. It's very dangerous to talk about masculinities, because it's something very, very like it's as a religion, I mean, in Morocco. But with time, like, but I was very, I believed in this, and like now I'm doing that with my friends, with my colleagues, and like, I mean, it works. So the idea is just to be crazy about creating a podcast. I invite you to listen to my podcast, Machi Rojola, not so mainly if you are Arabic speaker or French speaker. I hope that very soon I will produce it also in English. I am Soufiane Hennani, and thank you for watching.